you know how you send over that article,
Uh-huh.
that mystical abundance one?
Yeah.
It's called The Subconscious, the loyal companion of the conscious mind
Oh,
or
right,
something.
right,
What really got me thinking, it's like, sometimes things just flow,
right.
and sometimes it's like an uphill
Oh,
battle.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've all been there.
And I think so many of us are looking for like reasons why. Why are things happening this way?
That's a really deep question, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to dive into today, like really kind of unpack this whole thing with the subconscious
Okay.
and how understanding it can actually help us, you know, help the listener to
Mm.
shape their life. Because like the article says, it's always there. It's always working, whether we're paying attention or not.
It really is. It's like the silent partner.
So the thing that really kind of hit me right at the beginning was, have you ever wondered why your experiences are the way they are? And what role you play in shaping them? It can't just be random chance, right?
No, it's definitely more than just chance. There's something else going on there. And that's where I think the subconscious really comes into play. This whole idea that there's this part of our mind that's like always operating beneath the surface. It's kind of like this, well, silent partner. And it really has a huge impact on how we think, how we feel, and ultimately how we act in the world.
So what is the subconscious like? How does the article define it?
Well, it describes it as like this realm that exists beneath our conscious thoughts, always running in the background, like a software program or something.
Right.
And its main job is to store the data, the mental framework. So that's all of our like thoughts, feelings, attitudes, actions even, expectations about the world, beliefs, values, the whole thing.
So it's like our brain is just constantly recording, learning, always on autopilot.
Yeah, in a way, yes. And to really clarify this, the article pulls definitions from dictionaries.
Mm.
Yeah, so like Oxford Learner's Dictionary says, it's this thing that influences our actions and feelings without us fully realizing it. Merriam-Webster defines it as this mental activity below consciousness that affects us without direct awareness. Cambridge highlights noticing and remembering information without even thinking about it. Collins says it holds thoughts and feelings we don't even know we have, but they shape our behavior. And American Heritage describes it as outside of awareness, but impacting our emotions, thoughts, and actions.
But it sounds like the consistent thread is this hidden power, like this undercurrent, right? That's always influencing us, but we don't even know we're not really in control.
Yeah, and to further explain it, the article actually breaks down the word subconscious, looking at that prefix, sub. So it uses examples, like a submarine, it goes under the water.
Right.
Or something that's subpar, it means it's like below standard. Or a subcommittee, it operates under a bigger committee. So basically, sub always means under, or beneath, or below the surface. It's from the Latin sub, which is, under, beneath, behind, further division, all that.
So when we think about the mind, when we're consciously focusing on something, there's a whole lot more happening beneath the surface.
Right. And that's the sub-processes quietly happening.
So how does this all work? How does the subconscious actually do its thing?
Well, the article really emphasizes this point, that the subconscious is always listening.
Okay.
It's constantly recording every single experience, every single thing. And it's doing this without any judgment, no analyzing, no filtering. It's not evaluating the information, just taking it all in.
It's kind of scary. It just accepts everything.
Pretty much. And it's really different from our conscious mind. Our conscious mind can, reason, it can question, it can debate.
Right. We think about things. Yeah.
But the subconscious, it just takes it all in as truth and acts accordingly.
Wow. So the analogy in the article, I thought was perfect. It compares the subconscious to soil, fertile soil.
Yeah, that's a really powerful image. So just imagine, every thought is like a seed.
Okay.
And the soil, the subconscious, it just accepts all these seeds, no questions asked. And just like real soil, whatever you plant is what you're going to get. If you keep planting negative thoughts, thoughts of lack, thoughts of unworthiness, guess what's going to grow?
Not a very pretty garden.
Exactly. But on the other hand, if you consciously plant positive seeds, things like gratitude, feelings of love, joy, self-worth, an expectation of abundance,
Okay.
then you are essentially cultivating a subconscious mind that's going to manifest those things in your life.
So what we're thinking and feeling on the inside really does shape our experiences on the outside.
100%. Our outer world is a reflection of that inner landscape.
It's okay.
The subconscious is constantly taking these internal blueprints, these patterns, whether they're positive or negative, and it's orchestrating events to match them.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The article says that the subconscious can't even tell the difference between what's real and what we imagine.
And this is so important. Think about it. The subconscious, it operates based on what it's repeatedly exposed to, right? But it doesn't care if it's an actual event happening in the physical world or just something you're vividly imagining and feeling in your mind.
So what I'm thinking and feeling is just as real to my subconscious.
Exactly. And that's why the article talks about the power of assumption.
Okay.
If you can truly feel like your desired outcome has already happened, if you can really embody that feeling as if it's your reality,
Yeah.
the subconscious starts aligning itself with this new state.
It's almost like we're reprogramming it.
Exactly. You provide the subconscious with a new set of instructions, and it starts to attract those experiences into your life, things that resonate with those deeply held beliefs and feelings.
That's mind-blowing.
It really is.
Now, the article also talks about this idea of state of vibration. What's that all about?
Okay, so the article defines state as basically the condition or activity you're looking at, and it uses this really cool analogy of water. Water can exist as steam, right? Or as liquid water, or as ice.
Right. 3 different forms.
Three different forms, yeah. And our mental frameworks, they're kind of like that too.
Okay.
They can exist at different vibrations, different frequencies. You've got the higher vibrations, which are positive, and you've got lower vibrations, which are negative.
So it's like our mental state has its own energy.
Exactly. And that energy influences our reality.
So what's it like when we're in a higher vibrational state? How does that show up in our lives?
Well, it's that feeling of lightness. It's like everything's flowing. Things are just falling into place effortlessly. You're feeling inspired. Ideas just pop into your head.
Like being in the zone.
It is. It is. And the article calls this inspired action. It's when your actions feel natural, effortless, because they're aligned with your deepest desires. There's no struggle, no doubt, just a sense of knowing, like you're on the right track.
So that's the goal, right? Be in that state of inspired action.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like everything's working in sync. You, the universe, your desires, all of it.
And what about when we're in a lower vibration?
Well, that's when you feel heavy. Like everything's a struggle. You might experience tension in your body, resistance in your mind. The article says these are signals. They're telling you something's out of alignment.
Okay, so we need to pay attention to those signals.
Absolutely. But the good news is we can shift. We can move from those lower states to higher ones.
And how do we do that?
By consciously choosing to feel lighter.
Yeah.
More expansive, more inspired, more in flow with life. And as you do that, things start to change. You stop feeling like you're constantly fighting against the current. And things you want, they start coming to you more easily.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, right? It's deeper than that.
It is deeper. And the article really stresses the importance of emotional alignment.
Oh, yeah. What's that about?
It's not enough to just think positive thoughts. We have to actually think from the feeling of our desires already being fulfilled.
Yeah.
We have to embody those emotions.
Because it's like we're not just wishing for something, we're actually feeling it as if it's already here.
Exactly. Our thoughts are like the request, but our emotions, our feelings, they're the magnetic force. They draw those desires into our experience.
And there was that funny analogy about ordering food.
Yeah, so imagine you go to a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And you order a really fancy, expensive meal, like a filet mignon.
Okay.
But in your mind, you're thinking, I can only afford a hot dog.
Right.
So you're sending mixed signals. You're saying one thing, but feeling another. And that creates resistance.
So we need to be consistent.
We have to align our thoughts and feelings with what we truly desire. And then the subconscious will start working to manifest those things. Whether it's financial abundance, health, relationships, anything, it all starts on the inside.
Got it. So now let's talk about the power of suggestion. The article uses this great image of a tiny rudder steering a huge ship.
Right. And that's exactly what it's like. It's showing us that these small, subtle suggestions, repeated over time, can have a massive impact on our direction in life.
And these suggestions can come from outside of us, right?
Exactly. The article calls this heterosuggestion. It's all those external influences that are constantly bombarding our subconscious.
So things like social media, music, what people are saying around us.
All of that, yep. And the article really emphasizes that these things can be incredibly powerful in shaping our beliefs and expectations, even if we don't realize it.
So we're being programmed, in a way, by our environment.
Kind of, yeah. And if we're not aware of it, we can end up internalizing beliefs that don't serve us.
And the article gave some examples of negative suggestions we might hear about money.
Oh, yeah, like money doesn't grow on trees.
Right.
You have to work really hard for money. Money is the root of all evil. And, hearing those things over and over again, especially when you're young, it can really sink in. And then we might unconsciously create situations that reinforce those beliefs.
So what can we do about that?
The first step is awareness. We need to become conscious of those negative suggestions and the beliefs we've formed around them.
Okay.
And then once we're aware, we can start to replace them.
With positive suggestions, right?
Exactly. And that's where autosuggestion comes in. This is the practice of deliberately planting positive thoughts and affirmations into our subconscious.
So we're essentially reprogramming ourselves.
Exactly. We're taking control of our inner dialogue and changing the script.
And how do we make sure those positive suggestions really sink in?
The key is emotional alignment. We have to feel those affirmations as if they're already true.
So we're not just saying the words, we're feeling the emotions behind them.
Yes, exactly. That's what gives them power. And when we do that consistently, we start to interrupt those old patterns of negativity and create new ones that support our desires.
Okay, so last but not least, let's talk about inspiration and action. Where does true inspiration come from, according to the article?
Well, it says that inspiration comes from the subconscious.
Okay.
And while we can't directly control when it strikes, we can make ourselves more receptive to it
And how do we do that?
by cultivating a positive and open mental and emotional state.
So we're basically creating the right environment within ourselves for inspiration to flow.
Yes. And when we're in that state, we're more likely to get those aha moments, those creative breakthroughs, those intuitive nudges.
And when we act on those inspirations, it's almost effortless, right?
It can be, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
everything just clicks into place. And the article calls this inspired action. It's when we're acting in alignment with our deepest desires and our inner guidance system.
So it's all connected. Our vibration, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions. It's like a feedback loop.
It really is. And when we raise our vibration, our subconscious starts working for us, bringing us those inspiring thoughts, ideas, opportunities, and it all starts to manifest in our outer world.
Amazing. So to sum it up, the article is really saying that we have way more power to shape our reality than we might realize.
That's the big takeaway.
And it ends with these really thought-provoking questions for the listener.
It does, yeah.
Like, have you ever thought about how your environment might be shaping your subconscious?
Right, and what suggestions you've absorbed without even knowing it.
And how your reality could change if you consciously shifted those influences.
That's the big one,
Wow, so much to think about.
for sure.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the subconscious, and we encourage you to really reflect on these concepts and consider those questions the article asks. If you want to learn more, you can check out mysticalabundance.blogspot.com. And they're also on social media at mysticalabundance1111.
Great resources.
Yeah. And as always, if you enjoyed this deep dive, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.